Hello NEET aspirants, welcome to Biotechnica. Today I'm going to talk about how to answer tricky MCQs in NEET examinations. So for your information, we have come up with all the important topics and all the units of different subjects which is in the NEET examination for your benefit. You can just click on to the description box below, download and get benefited. And you can also join our Telegram channel for more updates. So with no more delay, let's get started to the video. Hey ardent learners, this is Caroline Green from Biotechnica. Let's proceed on to the slides. Okay, the first question I'm going to ask is what makes MCQs in any competitive examination very tougher. So we are going to talk about NEET examination, what makes MCQs tougher or tough. So let's talk in detail about it. Okay, we'll go in for line by line, we'll talk about it. All MCQ evaluation is computerized. When you're writing your NEET examination, you'll mark all the correct answers in your OMR sheet, which will be evaluated by the computer. Yes, so you won't have a chance of getting any grace marks. That makes this MCQs a kind of tougher for you, right? When you compare it with the descriptive question, MCQs are kind of tougher. Okay, MCQs have marks or penalty or all or none. If you're going to make everything correct, you are going to get good marks. If you are going to make wrong answers for it, then there would be a penalty or deduction of marks from the correct answers that you actually got, or we can say whether you get all answers correct or none of them correct also. So MCQs, again, going to be a tougher thing. So how to approach it? The next one, negative marking. There's going to be negative marking. We already know there's going to be negative mark in each examination, 1 mark for every wrong responses that you're going to give for a question. So negative mark is another thing which makes MCQs a kind of tougher. The next one, MCQ options are so narrow that it shakes even the confident candidate. Sometimes when you have studied solidly for 6 months, even when you're confident, when you're going in for examination, you'll find sometimes, how can I going to approach this kind of options which is given over there? This is mainly because MCQs are actually seems easier, but it's kind of tougher. So how to approach those kind of MCQs we are going to talk. Yes, and usually MCQs will be conceptual. It can be conceptual, so candidates should be very, very proficient. You should know what are the things that's given in the question. It can be the form of figures. You should know the formula, the time, the date, and many more we already know about in detail. Yes, as the total number of MCQs are higher, we already know how many questions we have to attempt in these examinations. We know about physics, we know about chemistry, we know about biology. So 90 questions in biology, 45 questions in physics, and 45 questions in chemistry. So you have to attempt so many MCQs, and out of that you have to make concentration on each of the questions that you're going to do. So MCQs are tougher, but how are we going to approach these things? Okay, let's dive into the next slide. How to crack. Yes, how to crack this NEET MCQs like a pro. Yes, so we'll talk about everything. First, read the entire question very carefully and thoroughly. One mistake every NEET aspirant does is when you're finding any long answers, you'll skip the question and you'll move on to the next one. But whenever you see any question, read it carefully and thoroughly. Then move on to the next question. Yes, and we know it's going to be MCQ questions. We already know multiple choice question. One problem every NEET aspirant faces is if there are going to be 4 options, all the 4 options sometimes seem similar. So how can I know this is going to be the correct answer? So the second thing that you have to see is confusing options will be there. So all options seems to be right in few facets. Yes, so how to do that? You have to go in for elimination method. Next, if you make a point to read the question word by word. So when you are seeing any question, read every word by word, because sometimes that word will give you a hint of the answer. So that's very important. So read very carefully every word by word. Okay, you will realize some hints. the question itself, right? Yes. The next one, examine and gather all the data. If you're going to approach physics question, if you're going to approach chemistry questions, whatever is given data, you have to analyze that data. So gather all the data that is provided in the question and then interpret the question and find the answer for the question. This is very important when you are approaching physics or chemistry questions. Okay, suppose the 4 options are given and you are in a kind of confusion. Which is going to be the correct one? What do you have to do? Yes, first thing, rule out or eliminate the incorrect option one by one. If suppose we are talking about 4 options are given, so how do you eliminate it? I'm going to give you some examples so you can eliminate one by one. Okay, let's take some examples in biology and I'm going to deal with some question how you can eliminate or rule out the incorrect one. Okay, let's see the first question. Which of the following statements about histones is wrong? Very important when you're approaching any question, just looking for whether they're asking it is right or wrong. So here they're asking which one about these histones are going to be wrong ones. First, what we are going to do, we're going to rule out or eliminate those kind of things. First, what is this histone? So you already know about histone is a protein. So histone is a protein. So proteins are made up of amino acids. We already know proteins are actually made up of amino acids. Very specifically, we know that it's going to be lysine and arginine. There are many more amino acids, but these two are going to be maximum amount, which are going to be basic amino acid. If they are basic amino acids, then the pH is always greater than 7. So it's a basic amino acid, histones, which actually wraps around the DNA. DNA is going to be 2.2 meters long. So something that has to wrap around within a cell, which is very small, and even in the cell, which is going to be nucleus, which is very small, then how come this 2.2 meters DNA is actually wrapped with the help of this protein? So we know this. Now what we are going to do, we are going to eliminate the options. So let's see. Histones are organized to form a unit of 8 molecules. Yes, there are going to be 8 histone molecules. So it is correct. So I'm not going to eliminate this one. The next one, the pH of the histone is slightly acidic. So this is the wrong statement. Actually, you found it. The rest of the things are correct. So the question is wrong. So what you have to remember, they are asking the wrong statement. So this is a correct statement. So I'm going to eliminate this one, but this is a wrong statement. I'm going to keep it as such. Let's eliminate. Histones are rich in amino acid, lysine and arginine. This is a correct statement, but they have asked which is going to be the wrong statement. So I'm going to eliminate this one also. The next one, histones carry a positive charge in the side chain. We know amino acids, lysines, arginines are basic and they're going to be positive ones. So definitely that's the correct one. But the question is, which among the following is a wrong statement? So which is going to be the answer? It's going to be second. Second is the option. So when you're not knowing anything, just go in for elimination or rule out options. So this is a very good way of approaching whether it's physics or chemistry or biology. What's the second point? Approach conceptual and complex questions by stepwise method. You have to go in for step-by-step methods. If options are given, you can go in for stepwise method. Okay, let's try this one. Try using step-by-step plan to find an answer to any problem that is actually given. Finding correct answers to similar questions. I told you if there are 4 questions which are going to be similar, we would be confused which one is going to be the correct answer. So you need some tactics to actually assess those options. Okay, we'll see some examples and then we'll proceed on. If they give kind of similar options, how to select the one. Okay, so a DNA strand on agarose gel electrophoresis is stained with ethidium bromide when viewed under UV radiation. It is going to be biotechnology question. So how come when you're going to view it under the ultraviolet rays, it's going to look like? Many might be confused whether it's orange or red, but you should always remember what's going to be the answer, because you know that you can go in for elimination. Yellow bands, you'll not see it. So you'll not see any yellow bands. And the next one, blue bands also you'll not see. The question is ultraviolet radiations. Blue bands you will see only when you go in for staining procedures. But here you have to remember every word is important. So it's going to be UV radiations they have given. So you should make a note of this one. So you might be confused with these 2 similar options, whether it is red color or whether it is orange color. But listen, it's bright orange, almost similar to red, but not red. So the answer is going to be bright orange band. So first go in for elimination 1, and then if you find some similarity, then choose smartly. Yes. So you need practice for it. The next one, several times match the following questions are actually asked. If you really observe NEET question paper, if you're going to analyze it, you will see lot of match the following questions. And they will ask you whether to find the mismatched pair or the correct pair. So I've given one example. You can actually see it over here. It's from Principle of Inheritance and Variation. We know about hemophilia, which is going to be sex-linked recessive disorder. This usually comes to all the male who have only one X chromosomes. So this is correct, but what the question is, find out the mismatched pair, which is going to be the wrong one, which is actually matched up. So you're going to find the mismatched pair. So you can just try it out now. Cystic fibrosis, yes, it's autosomes. We already know about this 23 pairs of chromosomes. 23 pairs of chromosomes, or we can say 46 chromosomes. So here, autosomal recessive one. What is the chromosome number? You have to remember it's chromosome number 7. It is chromosome number 7. So this is also correctly matched. Down syndrome, trisomy. If the chromosome number is going to be, usually chromosomes will be in pairs, but here tri means 3. So you're going to see 3 of them. So it's trisomy condition of chromosome number 21. So this is also a correct one. So all these three are correctly matched, but we have to find out the mismatched one. Let's look in for this. Turner syndrome, you will see only in females. Why? Because females are going to have, let's suppose take 45 and XX, which is for normal females. But people who have this Turner syndrome are going to have Turner syndrome. I'm going to write TS, which is going to be 45 X, and they're not going to have one of the X chromosome, or we can say partially X chromosome is going to be lost. So it is going to be related with Y, not related with Y, but related with X, but they have given Y linked. This is a wrong mismatch statement. So you can go in for elimination method, then you can choose the right one and you can approach the question. Sometimes match the following questions will come. It's very easy to approach match the following questions when it comes to biology, or it's going to be in case of chemistry. Okay, the third important point. So we have done with the first one, second one, and we are moving on to the third point. Memorize, when it comes to biology very specifically, all the important definitions. Suppose if you're talking about what is a gene or what is an allele, every word in NCERT is important and you have to know the definition of everything. And we can also say common names and scientific names when it comes to botany or zoology. And you can easily answer MCQs. This is very important. You have to read every line in your NCERT books when it comes to biology. Yes. So usually you will have memory-based questions. Usually memory-based questions. So memorize all the common names, scientific names very specifically in your unit 1. And very importantly, understand every concepts and keep the concepts clear and important definitions. And when it comes to physics, theories and laws are very important. And even formulas, datas, everything you should remember this. The second one, what's the second one? When you are going for any kind of questions like this, usually you will see 60% of the questions in your NEET examination will be from your concept, or we can say from your NCERT only. Mostly not application oriented ones, it will be direct question. 40% of your questions can be application based. So this you should remember. If you're going to stick on to your NCERT, it's fine enough for your biology. Let's go in for some examples and understand how can we solve this one. Let's take one example. Why concepts are very important? Why concepts are very important? Because if you're not knowing the concept, you cannot answer this question. Which of the following secretes hormones relaxin? Now you have to remember what's the role of a relaxin. Relaxin is the hormone which actually involved in parturition process. The baby has to come out. Only that time, this hormone is going to be released. Yes. So during the later phase of the pregnancy, yes, this will happen after or later phase of the pregnancy when the delivery is about to happen, or on the 8 to 9 months, we can say. Which of the following is going to secrete? This is very important. Many used to get confused with Graafian follicles or corpus luteum. Never ever this option. Go in for ejection method. Baby will not secrete relaxin. So fetus is not the correct one. Uterus is also not going to secrete it. But ovaries are going to do some function. But in ovaries, whether it is Graafian follicles or it is going to be corpus luteum. That's the question now. How you have to approach? We already know Graafian follicles will not be produced during pregnancy. But what is this corpus luteum? Corpus luteum is the ruptured Graafian follicle. So corpus luteum is the one which is going to secrete what? Relaxin. So the correct answer is ultimately within these two. We already know about this. Going for rejection. The correct one is corpus luteum. This is how you have to remember the concept and approach the question. Without knowing your concept, you cannot answer such kind of question. Next one. Match the following diseases with the causative agent. So these are some disease and the causative agent. I told you have to remember common names, scientific names along with diseases. So that is one of the example which I've given for you. So without knowing these scientific names of the bacterium or the organism causative agents, you cannot approach such kind of question. So let's see. So typhoid, it's a bacterial infection which is caused by Salmonella typhi. So this is the answer. Yes. Pneumonia is actually caused by hemophilia pneumoniae. Yes, this is also the correct one. And filariasis is actually caused by Wuchereria. Yes. And malaria is caused by Plasmodium falciparum. So A is going to be fourth one. So you can just, A is going to be third one. So the only option which is given over here is fourth one. So you can easily approach. If you're not knowing the scientific name, then you cannot approach your question. So understand your concept, your scientific names, which is given for either organism, plants or animals or whatever it is. Next very important one, sucrose. We already know about sucrose, which is going to be a disaccharide. Disaccharide means they are made up of two sugars. What is hydrolysis? Hydrolysis something. Lysis means breaking. So you know lysis means breaking. So when do you break a bond? When you add water, you actually break a bond. So hydro is referring to water. So when you add water, you break a bond. So whenever you're going to add water to a sucrose, it just splits into two monosaccharides. So what are the monosaccharides? Very easy. So we already know about glucose. We know about there are going to be glucose and fructose, which actually forms sucrose. Fructose, which actually forms sucrose with the help of a glycosidic bonds. We already know about it. But the question is whether they are alpha or beta, or you have to remember this one. Both are going to be dextrorotatory. In biological sciences, we will say most of them are going to be dextrorotatory in nature. So this is also D-glucose. This is also going to be D-glucose. Sometimes you won't have questions like this. They will also ask you alpha and beta. So this is going to be alpha D-glucose and this is going to be beta D-fructose. So you can just choose D-glucoses and D-fructoses. So the answer is going to be first one. So understand your concept. This is a question in your biomolecules chapter. Very important question. This is actually an application based question. I told you even sometime 40% of your questions will be application based. So let's look in for this question. If a cell A with DPD, we already know about DPD. So cell A, let's write for cell A. It's going to have a DPD of 4. It's going to have 4. And they are going to talk about cell B, cell C and cell D. Cell B, cell C and cell D. Let's going to calculate what is the DPD for all these things. Let's write what is the DPD formula. DPD is equal to osmotic pressure minus, let's write it, osmotic pressure minus Turgor pressure. So let's do it for cell B. Okay, let's write and cell C and cell D. So let's write it for everything together. Okay, so the osmotic pressure and Turgor pressure is given for the first one. B is going to be 4 and 4. So how can I do this? 4 minus 4 is going to be 0 for cell B. And for cell C, what is the thing that is given over here? You can see 10 and 5. So 10 is osmotic pressure, 5 is going to be Turgor pressure. So it's going to be, DPD is going to be 5. And for D, if you're going to see for D, 7 and 3. So it's going to be 7 is osmotic pressure and Turgor pressure is 3. So it's going to be 4. Out of these things, you should remember another important concept. Now we have found out the DPD of all the cells. But the water usually travels from low DPD to high DPD. Now you can analyze. Cell A is going to have 4 DPD, which is 4. This is going to, cell B is 0, cell C is 5, and cell D is going to be 4. Which is the lowest one? Yes, you should always remember. A cell always, or we can say the water will always move from low DPD to high DPD. So from where it will actually moves, yes, of course, from the cell B, which is only 0. So it moves from B to A, and then to C, and then to D. So what's the answer? Very simple, B to all the other cells. So the answer is going to be B. So you should know the concept along with the application. What's the fourth point? Utilize time at the hand and make most of the time during your examination. How you're going to manage your time is very important. It's going to be 3 hours. I already told you that you are going to spend 45 to 50 minutes for biology, and you can spend the rest of the time for chemistry for 1 hour and the rest of the time for your physics. So how you're going to utilize the time is really important in your examination. So divide the time very efficiently, because we are left only with 3 hours or 180 minutes. So you just calculate accordingly and approach the questions during the examination. What's the second thing? Very important. First, focus on easy questions. Please don't take any lengthy questions, or you can read the question. If you're not knowing it, then you can go for it. Don't take any tough questions in the beginning. So take easy questions and then move on to the tougher questions, and later pick on to the difficult one. What's the next one? Chalk out a proper routine. You need to know how much time I'm going to calculate, and you're going to give equal importance to all the things. That's why I told you, if you're going to spend 45 to 50 minutes for biology, you're left with more time for physics and chemistry. Do not rush up for your physics at the last moment just because you took 1 hour 15 minutes for your biology. Always try to spend 45 to 50 minutes for biology and proceed on with the next one. Okay, guessing the game could be very risky at times when you're going to guess it. So sometimes you'll end up with the wrong things, right? But very important, you can also guess. So you can guess what is the correct answer can be. But there is a condition when you can guess. Let's see. So practice last year question paper and go through mock test. Okay, very important. The first thing you can do is practice the previous year question paper, so there is no need to go in for any kind of guessing thing. When you're going to guess, sometimes it can be very riskier for you to take steps, because we know about the deduction of mark and we are going to lose mark. Then when can I go in for guessing? Only when you are not 100% sure, usually not 100% sure. If you have an idea about 90%, then you can go in for guessing. So that's very important. Usually do not go in for guessing if you are not knowing any important thing about it. But the guessing is risky if you are not sure 90%. Even if you're not sure about it, then you don't go for guessing. If you know 80 to 90% of it, then you can go in for guessing things. Okay, revert onto your NCERT. This is a very important thing which I usually tell. So please revert onto your NCERT when it comes to physics or chemistry or biology. Very specifically, I would say only biology. Yes, the next one, several times you will get a lot of direct questions from your NCERT. So please stick on to your NCERT. Initially, avoid answering those questions for which you are not confident. If you're not knowing about a question, don't attempt the question. Better go in for the next one. What's the next one? Practice a lot of questions in mock tests. This will actually encourage you and will give you a lot of confidence when you're going to attempt. And this is another approach which makes you to solve a lot of MCQs very promptly. Okay, now we just got an overview of the entire NEET MCQ tricks, or we can say how to approach trickier questions. But when you're going to talk about physics or chemistry or biology, you need to follow certain things. So this is the subject-wise things that you're going to follow or approach to solve some NEET MCQ questions. First, we'll talk about biology. Yes. Pay attention to choices such as none of these things. Whenever you're going to see some options, like 4 options are given, so there would be all of these things, none of these things. So looking for those kind of options. Usually do not go like none of these things or all of these things is always going to be correct. So make sure whether that's a correct prominent one, then you can go in for it, or else just look in for this. So always go in for, pay a lot of attention to none of these questions, or both A and B, or all the above, to avoid negative marks. Sometimes you'll feel like A is the correct one and B is not the correct one, but they might have given you both A and B. So that time, just get to know whether it's both A and B. So just pay attention to all these things when it comes to biology. Carefully read all the choices and check if anything can be ruled out. I told you, you can go in for elimination method, rule out method if you are feeling that there's no relevance with the question. The next one, the words such as not correct and accept. This is very important word when it comes to biology. When you're reading any question, are they talking about which of these following is going to be wrong statement or which is not correct? Or they can ask you the mismatch pair, or all of these things are correct except. If they ask you that kind of question, read every word that's given in case of biology. So you might miss those words and you will think that's the correct answer. So you're going to lose mark. So always check in for not correct and accept once. Ensure you understood the question stem prior to answering. Many, after seeing that question, they'll just go in for the tick options, any of the options. So do not ever do it. Read questions prior answering anything. And underline, suppose if you're finding any keywords. So underline or mark the keywords in biology when you are approaching such kind of questions. So these are certain things that you're going to do in for biology. What about chemistry? What I have to do in for chemistry? Yes. So know the catalyst. So usually when there's going to be an equation, you need to know about which catalyst it is going to be and the temperature. So equation, you have to remember the catalyst and the temperature when you're going to answer any kind of chemical equations. And ensure that the questions is about whether they are talking about the main product or the intermediate product. So that you have to remember whether they are talking about the main product or the intermediate product, and then do the question. Usually you will talk in case of chemistry is based on facts, usually about facts. So make sure, so it is better to leave the questions rather than blindly guessing. If you know, then you can go in for this chemistry question. Quickly cover very simple question and save time for the rest of the question. This I usually say for the tricky numerical MCQs. When it comes to chemistry, if you have to do some kind of numerical MCQs, better solve all the theoretical questions or easy question, then spend time for this kind of tricky questions. Do not take the tricky questions and actually sit over there. So it will consume you a lot of time. Arithmetic calculations, very important. Just make sure you're doing it very correctly with accuracy. That's another important thing. If there are similar values in choices, leave this question for the last. If you're finding almost 0.1 or 0.2 or 0.3, such kind of options are there, just leave it for a moment. If you have a time, then you can come over and you can approach the thing. Okay, what about in case of physics? I already told you have to have your tabulations, your formula, everything that has to be done. Okay, employ dimensional analysis to solve high order thinking MCQs. This is very important. The next one, remember to check units in the option. You can also go in for this trick. Actually, you can also check in for which unit is asked from. So based on that, you can also go in for the answer. Avoid silly calculation. When you're making calculation, you will make, when you're actually calculating something else, you can make some silly mistakes. So make sure you're not doing it. And very important, you have to do it in a rough work in this given space, and make sure you're making the calculation legibly. Many used to do the calculation very faster even without understanding it. So when you want to check the answer back again, you will never understand what you have actually written. So make any rough work legibly over there. So legible rough calculations are the best ones, and you can trace them if you are not sure about whether this is the correct answer. So these are certain things that you are going to do in for your physics, chemistry, and for your biology to solve any kind of trick MCQs. Yes. Okay. What's the keynote for you today? What's going to be there? Your mind always answers better when questioned by a paper than self-questioning. So when you're going to have your answers, so your mind actually answers really well than self-questioning whether it's correct or not. So believe in yourself when you're going to answer the question for the first time. And lastly, this is really important. I want to say for every NEET aspirant, lastly, check on the line between confidence and overconfident. You can approach the question with confidence, but you should know the check line, or we can say the thin line that's actually between confidence and overconfident. Overconfidence sometimes take things wrong away. So better have those things in your mind and approach every question that is given over there. So look for the sunshine so that the shadow falls behind you. And I'm gonna say all the very best to all of you who are gonna write these NEET examinations. So if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe to our channel Biotecnika, and all the informations are given in the description box below. Please check out, download and get benefited. So I'm going to meet you in the next video. Thank you all of you for joining. Thank you so much.